Let me tell you a story of how Demon's Souls permanently changed gaming for me. My story starts back in 2009. The gaming world was quite a different place back then. The Xbox 360 was pretty much neck and neck with the Sony PlayStation 3, and we were treated to a whole host of amazing games such as Infamous, Dead Space, Borderlands, and Batman Arkham Asylum, not to mention many more. It felt like developers in the West may have started to get the edge over the Japanese Goliaths that ruled game development for so long. That was until I happened to come across some information and screenshots of an upcoming game on a gaming news website called The Magic Box. This site would often post screenshots and small descriptions of upcoming games and news. The website still exists, but only as a forum now. The game description described it as a medieval action RPG that would have you traverse a land of dungeons, towns and castles which had been ravaged by a mysterious fog. As a fan of JRPGs and RPGs in general, I was always drawn to the idea of truly exploring dungeons and worlds from the third-person perspective, and from what I'd seen in the screenshots, it seemed like this game would fit the bill. I think maybe that fantasy of mine could even stem from maybe watching the Dungeons & Dragons TV show as a child. It seemed as though this game could possibly never get a release in the West due to the negative feedback from Sony staff and the Japanese press. However, a Chinese version of the game was eventually released, which happened to also have English localization, including voice acting. This is when I made the decision to import this game from China, as there was quite a possibility I may never be able to play it, as it may not even get released in the UK or US. Eventually the game ended up in my hands. From the moment the game opens, it truly gives you a sense of a huge threat to the land you're about to explore. It gives you an impression right away that there are much bigger things than you in this world, but little did I know, I was about to feel like an ant being stepped on, over and over again. Stepping into this world for the first time, it then puts you through a tutorial dungeon which allows you to learn the controls via prompts written on the ground. It shows you that you could manually raise your shield to deflect attacks from enemies, and how to use your buttons to attack, dodge and parry. At the end of the tutorial level, it would have you confront a boss, which at this stage was seemingly undefeatable. This will be my first and certainly not last humbling moment. Growing up playing console games, I wasn't immune to getting angry when being unable to beat a game. I was oftentimes frustrated if you could not progress and if I frequently died and hit the game over screen over and over again. I guess a factor that could have drawn me towards pushing progression was my experience playing Final Fantasy XI. Even though it was an MMORPG, it was often very punishing. Enemies were not a walkover unless you were fully prepared. Defeat would take experience from you, which would cause you to level down if you died too often as well. Even though Demon's Souls felt punishing and would persist in killing you over and over again, if you were lucky enough to get to the point you were previously, you could pick up your lost souls that had been dropped in a spot you previously died in. Not only that, there were various blood splatters across the floor that would allow you to see someone in another world that had died. Although I didn't completely understand this mechanic just yet, nor did I even realise this game had such a large online component built in. But without realising it, by dying so much you was actually slowly getting better at the game. The game wanted you to die so you could learn from your experience and push that bit further, which would then reward you with game progression, or even unlocking a shortcut that could allow you to skip past a level to get to those bosses faster. Even this could be immensely satisfying. When you leveled up in this game, it didn't seem to have a huge impact on the world against you. The enemies would still take giant chunks of damage from you in a flash, and bosses would just as easily 2 to 3 shot you dead, so putting levels into your HP was an absolute must. There is a mechanic in this game which I didn't really realise was happening until I managed to get near the end of my first playthrough. This was called World Tendency. If you die too often, you could push the World Tendency towards black, and if you defeat bosses and be successful, you would push it towards white. But not just you, everybody also playing online would affect this. So everyone is dying more than winning, your world will go towards black. Your healing items are less effective. However, in compensation, For this you receive more souls from your enemies defeated, and you could then fight even more powerful enemies in the world that did not appear there before. Oftentimes I would see white ghosts running around the screen. I couldn't interact with them or attack them. Eventually I learned that these were other players going online on their own journey. Another mechanic that I did not readily notice until much later is that after you beat a boss, you enter body form. In this form, you would increase your health to full, and before that form, you're in a soul form, your HP would be much lower, but in body form you're able to summon additional help from players in the world. It took me a while to figure this one out, but it's easily one of the best features in the game. I was able to summon other players to assist me on my progression. This suddenly became a much less daunting task for me to undertake, as now I would be able to attempt bosses with another player and increase my chances of winning. So any time you saw a glowing mark on the floor, summon that fellow for jolly co-op and you could reap the benefits. However, this came at a cost. In this form, you could also be invaded, so be prepared for other players to come and lay the smackdown on you and prevent you from progressing. As if the enemies and bosses were not enough. Through my experiences with this game, I learned that it was okay to be defeated at a game, even if you were fully leveled up. If you didn't take your time and respect the enemies and environment around you, you could still be defeated. So it taught you to be calm and collected as well. If you do not approach with caution and spam attack buttons, your stamina will be drained and you'll be then left completely open to attack, punished for it. I can't quite describe the feeling of having my shield raised in case an enemy might be waiting for me around a corner, slowly inching in trying to peek and take a good look around because something might jump out at me and bring me close to soiling my undergarments. It's a thrill. The world feels foggy and dim, sometimes lit by your light stone on your belt strap. If anything, to certain people this game could even be considered a horror. I certainly felt it in the dark, quiet moments with the moans and cries of the undead in the background. However, there is a comfort in knowing that other people are traversing this world too, and that a helping hand is just around the corner if really needed. You can level up in the Nexus area and meet a small selection of NPCs that have not yet been driven insane by the fog. There are quest lines that must be followed very specifically, as one step out of line could cause the whole thing to fail if an NPC were to die or not be spoken to in a certain order. The music is also artfully placed in this game. You'll hear it in the hub area such as the Nexus and during the grueling boss fights which continue to increase the tension as you try it on your 5th attempt round. After playing for some time, I decided to research the developer, FromSoftware. I then found out that they made one of my most beloved games, Tenchu Wrath of Heaven for the PS2. Once you learn this, you can really see it in certain aspects of the gameplay and its design. This led me to check out other games and watch footage of a game called King's Field. You can really see where this game has its roots and it's beautiful to see. Another one of the most compelling things, and something I always come back to, is the way the story is told to you in this game. If you don't look for it, you can completely miss it. It's told both visually and in text form. Sometimes narratively from friendly NPCs in the world, which are not so friendly, by the way, if you accidentally hit them, but almost never told through cutscenes apart from the beginning of the game and the end. You can find countless videos online by people like Vati Vidya and many others to deeply dive into the lore of this game. There are clues to what's going on in the story hidden all over the place in the details of the walls, the level design, and even item descriptions on things such as rings and weapons. These things have been thought through meticulously and implemented in this world so beautifully. Demon's Souls carried a formula, and it carried that formula on through Dark Souls, which came out a few years later in 2011. Right up to Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, FromSoftware's most recent game in 2019. That included 2 sequels to the Dark Souls franchise, which were Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3. Going back to other games almost put me at a loss after playing this game so much. Everything felt trivial, and it wasn't about difficulty anymore. It was about how I was traversing the world, and the way Demon's Souls level design just seemed to seamlessly connect itself with other areas of the game. It was also the placement of the enemies that confronted me that created the challenge and how I approached that, not a mere setting that I can toggle. All in all, Demon's Souls is probably still one of the most satisfying gaming experiences you can have, and probably one of my favourite games of all time. And now in the year 2020, we're on the verge of doing it all over again. I'm excited to see what Bluepoint Games bring to the table with their remake of Demon's Souls on the PS5, and even more so excited to boot up my PS3 and play more Demon's Souls all over again. And with that is why Demon's Souls changed video games for me. It introduced me to a whole new genre of games, and it even spawned its own. Something that is not easily done in today's landscape. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.